And continuing from the last movie, and next we have multiple table inserts, but I want to show you something else quickly before we go on to the multiple inserts. I'm copying and pasting that insert command from the beginning. And let's do this. There are 3 columns in this table. If I do this, note that with this query like this, what it actually did was it ignored the parent ID. If you recall, look at the category table. We have a parent ID column, which will come up with this description. Eventually, my connection speed is a little slow across my network. And there it is. And because it's not defined, there has to be a default setting on it that's not showing here. So let's go back to here, open up the category table here, and as you can see, has a default of null. So if you don't specify it in the insert statement, it will simply add a null value to the parent ID, which you saw when we went and looked at the racing category that we added initially. Racing, null. These other queries actually specified this, and as you can see, we have an insert category query with just a values clause and no sequence of columns there. So what I should show you here is that you can do this, and let's say we do funky racing, and this will be 104 and its parent will be 100, right? Which means that all the columns are declared in here. So let's run this one and make sure this works. So we've added funky racing, and we can, let's copy this again. I just want to show you the various different options. This particular one here is not going to work because there's a non-nullable restriction on the primary key, which is the category ID. The parent thing, it's okay, which I'm specifying here, not using the default. Funky racing again. And there we have row inserted but with a null. And the other thing we can show you as well is we can also do this. Where we add this clause in here, we can say category ID, this is the sequence of the columns in the table, the physical order of the columns as they're defined in the table, parent ID and name. And here we have, let's say, category 105, and then the parent there, and funky racing yet again. And let's just type that. And this should work as well. We've already added a 105. So that's what that's telling me. There you go. And what we can actually do, because we've defined all the columns, we can actually change the sequence in which they're added. But obviously, we have to go and change these values, right? It's going to get confused. It's going to put the wrong values in the wrong place, or it's going to object because it has something else there. Let's put version 501. And it's just going to add this again. Again, we've got the row inserted. So if we go back and look at all this data, we'll find there's all sorts of funny data in there. But the one thing we can actually do, and funky racing again, they'll be down there because basically we could do this. We've added the parent IDs in. Let's order by name. We've added the parent IDs in, so they're not in the order that I was expecting, well, that we would expect. So you've got all the funky racing records here. Now there's one thing we can do here. We haven't committed yet. Remember the transactions? Roll it all back. It undoes all that data. Run this again, and we should not find any funky racing records. No funky racing records.